Hello, hello. Welcome to another edition of Coffee Talk Tuesday. I'm Shalise Stevens. I'm here with my co-host Trip Mitchell and Terry Bruden as our guest today. Thank you so much for coming and bringing along your little buddy.
Little buddy is here. Trip and Shalise, thank you so much for having me. Today, it's a pleasure to be here, and this is good stuff.
So we know you from Park City TV.
Yes.
You had a heck of a run up there.
I was there for a while.
Park City TV was, not to get too inside TV, that was a small TV station that outkicked its coverage. They had a live morning show, a live evening show. Yeah. They did a great job up there, and that's a fun gig. You know, the TV guys down in Salt Lake who get paid a lot of money would love to have had the freedom that you guys had up there.
Well, thank you for your kind words, Trip. I super appreciate it. And it was an incredible experience. I think you hit it on the head. The freedom that I had, I think I was fortunate in being able to kind of communicate my goodwill as far as being a steward of that airtime. So in terms of doing things that were cool.
By the way, Shalise, have we ever thought of us being stewards of our airtime?
No, I don't think so. That's a really great word.
Let's use that in our title. We are stewards of our airtime. Very good.
Royalty-free license on that. Trip.
Okay. Stewards of our airtime.
Well, I guess the thing about it is doing a live show, first of all, a lot can go wrong, and you can make terrible choices that reflect poorly on the station and make for weird, uncomfortable situations. And I guess
that's a description of our show.
Right, exactly. Yeah. It's a different purpose, right? I got a couple of those coming up, so don't worry. But as far as being able to be in that environment, I had I guess a natural kind of community spirit. So doing the best for viewers, doing the best for the station and for the community came pretty naturally to me. And I was fortunate that the format of the show already existed. Big ups to Ori Hoffer, who's now back east, but was my predecessor, and he did that job wonderfully for years. And I'm fortunate that I had a music background, so I was able to kind of delve in. I didn't really know a lot of people in Utah. I hadn't been here very long when I got that gig. And, it's amazing what you do when you just pick up the phone and call people and say, hey, do you want to come play some music on television? And people showed up. And
there were... Shalise, I don't know if you want... The cool thing about Park City TV, it was available on Comcast here in the Valley. Yeah. And we actually talked to Stanton about putting it on our channel. We couldn't come to a financial agreement.
Sure.
But we wanted to have it available more often because they did some cool things. But to turn on TV and see live music in Utah, that's about as good as it gets.
Well, and that's what I love about... Well, we should hear what was your show about. So our viewers who didn't see it.
If you've ever watched any television from Jack Parr to Steve Allen to Johnny Carson to Ellen DeGeneres to Jay Leno to David Letterman to the Jimmys, Jimmy Fallon and Jimmy Kimmel.
It was nothing like that. Oh, no, I'm sorry.
Yeah, right. Those were all shows where people wore clothes. So we did a nude version of the classic variety talk show. Kidding.
Based in Park City, that totally makes sense.
Absolutely.
How was there heat in the studio?
Straight out of the hot tub.
Yeah.
If you got cold, just go out on the deck.
That was a fun station, though. Do you want to hear some good stories about partying at the station?
Oh, are you asking me to tell stories about parties?
Yes, indeed. This is a podcast. You can tell anything.
Well, let's just say that I'm about 6 months sober right now in my life, which is a beautiful thing, and I don't traffic in regret. So I look back on some really great times with tons of musicians. Very early on in my tenure, I had a hard-working dude who's making a name for himself in Memphis, Tennessee right now by the name of Tony Holiday. And Tony reached out to me in a really memorable and professional manner and said, "Hey, I'd like to come and play." And I remember sitting out on the deck, maybe before and after the show, drinking a beer and rapping out with Tony and his lovely wife Camille and his band. And there were, so many great experiences like that of, I think more than anything else, just having 2 or 3 hours. I mean, regular guests would, come in shortly before showtime. But as far as the musical guests go, they'd show up at 4 o'clock for a 6 p.m. call, and we'd, get them sound checked and hang out. And that, to me, was as much about what sort of ended up on camera was having the opportunity to build a rapport with people who, down to my dear friend Steve Auerbach, who had Music Garage, now is Slam, Salt Lake Academy of Music, and Steve brought bands of high school kids a number of times over the years, and they'd play some covers, they'd play some original music, and it was just it was a really great gift. And as we were talking a little bit before the show, I send warm greetings out to my old friend Stanton Jones, who owned Park City Television for many years. He turned the keys to the studio over to me, and we had a great crew. But
in deference to Stanton, he did get the recycling rights to all the beers that you guys had there.
Yeah, well, that was a profit center.
Okay, it might have been kind of close on that one.
I remember a few evenings during Sundance when we had various liquor sponsors, and they'd come on and do a spot during the Mountain Views show. Shalise, back to your question of what was it that I did at Park City
It's a meandering course.
Yeah.
He's a professional, though, like you said, so he'll wrap back around to me when you...
My mom taught me how to wrap back around, so respect to Madonna Burden. But some great times of I guess I'd say almost kind of blurring the line between hanging around in a TV studio and broadcasting, such that, just like right now, I mean, we're just 3 people hanging out in a room, having a nice time. And that was always the thing that I wanted to accomplish. And if I was meeting somebody for drinks in Salt Lake, I never saw a big, as they say, a bright line dividing who I am before we hit record here today and what we're doing now. I mean, it's
this
really
is an
about...
audition. This is just a sample. We haven't hit record yet. So this is just a practice. So.
I love it. Well, I'm a little out of practice. So,
okay.
Trip, I appreciate the dry run.
So the hardest part of the business, and then I'll let Shalise yak for a while, is when you've had a gig and then you don't have a gig. That's tough.
Yeah. You're right, and it's an interesting journey that I've been on with the advent of social media. So, I'm able to stay in touch with people. There is a part of me that doesn't miss 5 days a week. I mean, my life was centered on, the 1 mile from my house to the studio. And, being there at 3:30 every day to start prepping the show. And don't get me wrong, I loved every minute of that. But, that takes a big chunk out of your life. I really didn't take vacations a whole lot. I had a natural dedication to the show and to making sure that everybody, and especially in a community-oriented environment where I'm interviewing a lot of people who've never been interviewed before, let alone never been on television before, and that kind of thing, that really meant a great deal to me in terms of making a good television product with people who didn't know anything about.
Where on YouTube would find you? They look at old shows.
Terry, just search Terry Burden on YouTube, and there's probably 1,000 interviews that are up that still exist. And like I say, everything from interviewing Wendy Dang, who is Rupert Murdoch's ex-wife, who got I think, the largest divorce settlement ever recorded in history, getting divorced from Australian Fox media mogul Rupert Murdoch. Wendy was amazing and cool and brought an amazing documentary to Sundance, and we had a great time, and I felt no different, literally no different, talking with this woman who's known around the world now for her philanthropy, the amazing work that she does with people from the community who are doing good works, $500 at a time. Shalise is a great example, doing what she can through the force of her own will and her personality to do good for other people, and that's the definition of community television. And so Sundance was great because you kind of feel like you're a part of the larger world, but by the same token, having Royal Bliss or George Charles Nelson or Talia Keys or any of these truly countless local musical artists who have so much passion and so much talent and so much soul come into the studio and have fun, play their music. And, I'm no professional sound engineer, but I did my level best every single day to make all of the artists sound good, and then just have a great time and enjoy the freedom of a guy like Stanton being like, okay, Terry, you're doing your show again today. I don't know what you're doing, but I'm not worried about it because I know that you're going to be respectful of the opportunity, and you're going to be respectful of the community, and not just Park City. Of course, it's called Park City Television, but 75% of my content, so to speak, my guests on the show, are from a 5-mile radius of where we're sitting right now here in the Salt Lake Valley. So, I always felt like I was a part of the Salt Lake community and served the Salt Lake community every bit as much as, the moniker on the door of Park City. And I think that sense of gratitude was what really drove me. But again, long answer back around. Doing that thing every day, I always managed to feel that it was a gift and a blessing to get to do that. And so,
Terry, ironically, Shalise has never said those words about me.
Well, we're still live today. It might happen later in this episode, Trip. Okay. I want to say that I have faith. I can feel the good vibes between you guys. And
when we come back, I'm not going to say a word.
You're not going to say a word. Oh, I dare you.
Well, we'll be back after the short break.
All right, welcome back to Coffee Talk Tuesday. My name again is Shalise Stevens. I'm here with Trip Mitchell and, of course, Terry Bruden as our guest. So, Terry, you were starting to tell a story while we were off air, and we thought we should put it on because it's going to be a good one.
It's still hilarious to me, and I think the thing that when you talk about an FCC licensed station, right? That the George Carlin bit about the 7 words you can't say and all that kind of thing. And
what are those words? I'm just kidding.
You can say them.
I'm just kidding. Don't say them.
You can say them very quickly. I'm not going to do it, but all credit to George Carlin for that. But I had some young guys from UCLA that had made a film that they wrote the script through their film program at school, and then they had an opportunity to go to Germany to enroll in an exchange program, and they ended up shooting this script that they had written in Germany. And it so happened, and I don't remember if it was a short or if it was a feature-length film, but they ended up getting a director who was very accomplished and very well known in Germany to direct this film. And I think, kind of the cachet of these young American kids who wrote a beautiful script and And as I recall, it was kind of based on a tragedy that one of the kids had encountered, losing a sister in a car accident. But it was a really beautiful story. And so they got this guy who was like a big time TV director. And so he comes in with the entourage, and we're getting everybody situated. 4 or 5 people, which is a lot to cram onto a TV set, but they all wanted to come on, and so bless them and welcome them. So we get lined up, and the director is sitting kind of on the far end of the couch with a separate chair. And so I start with the 2 young kids who were the producers and directors and writers of the film, and ask them some introductory questions. And I'm the whole time, right, I'm conscious that this big-time guy is sitting the farthest away from me, and he's like not involved in the conversation at all for the first few minutes of this interview. And of course I wanted to pay respect to him as an accomplished professional, and he came all the way from Germany to come to Sundance. And so I said, and I'm totally making this part of it up, but I'm thinking of Klaus Kinski. So I kind of averted my attention down the way, and I said, "Hey, Klaus, welcome to Park City and to Park City Television. It's great to have you here. How you doing? How's your Sundance?" And the first words out of his mouth are, "Can I swear on this show? We're podcasting."
Yeah, you can.
He says in his distinctly German accent, I said, "How's your time in Park City?" And he says, "It's fucking fantastic." And you could hear all of the air drain out of the room. And we're live. And I'm like laughing and terrified, and also kind of like, well, it's Sundance. Everything is, it's like Cowboy Town. It's like we're just rolling people in for the next interview. We're doing as many interviews as we can with all these, massive filmmakers that are in town. And he had no,
German
idea.
Standards are different.
Yes. And I guess I could point out that I am aware that that the word fuck is Germanic in origin. Ficken, or to flick, is the origin of the F-bomb.
Well, Schlise knew that, but I didn't. So
Right.
I thought it was forced unlawful carnal knowledge.
Well, you're showing yourself as a Van Halen fan. Of which I am one as well, so respect.
Van Hager, but
whichever your preference.
Okay, yeah.
I was reading a debate on Facebook this morning. My dear friend Erica Rose, who's a ripping guitar player, was musing on Van Halen with David Lee Roth versus Van Hagar. So I got you. I feel you. There's a lot of pop goodness out of Van Hagar. I think I'm equal on both, but I think FUCK, for Unlawful Carnal Knowledge, was a Van Hagar record.
Really?
So, yeah.
So, tell me,
I don't know.
is that the first time you've heard this word?
No. Oh, yes. I mean, of course.
Yeah, you're virginal ears. But anyway,
Yeah.
you're doing this. I'm just staying on the sideline.
Trip's getting some water on the bench for a second.
Yeah.
I love you, man. Your vibe is good.
Well, so Terry, you did that for how many years did you do Park City?
I did Park City Television from about midsummer in 2011. I got hired, and I cruised out at the end of 2018, December of 2018. So more or less 7 years, and it was a good run.
So then what did you do after? What made you transition to
this show.
What you do now? I mean, besides
I've
this
just
show,
been
obviously.
preparing to be here
Actually,
today.
right before he left Park City is when we met, and I was like, because I wanted to pick his brain about how to be a better host to my own show, and now he's
Clearly.
on my show. I was never on
See?
his show.
The tables have turned.
That's true. That's
Yeah, the station got sold, and there's always a politically gentle way to characterize it, but it wasn't the same place that it had been under Stanton, and I'd been there a while, and I wanted forward movement, and when you do a show 5 days a week, when it's essentially the same, there's a feeling of entropy, of inertia, and I was tired. So more than anything, it was just a little bit of a separation in philosophies, and my desire to just not have to do that every day. I mean, it really was the center of my life, and I loved that for a long time. But just to take some time off, I mean, to a large extent, the landscape of communications, of electronic communications, and even down to going from a desktop or a laptop to the way that we live on our phones now took place. The genesis of that was during that time period. And I was seeing that, Facebook and Instagram were happening, and, to use a television phrase, eyeballs, shifting and that kind of stuff. I mean, I'm still not super active. I've kind of been on the sidelines, and I've played a lot of music, and I think I've had time to kind of define who I am as a broadcaster. That sounds very self-serious, and I don't mean it to be that way entirely, but there's a thing being on television that sort of forces you into a character, and it wasn't like I had to play a character that wasn't elemental to who I am.
Yeah, but you're genuinely a nice guy, so that.
Well, I try. Thanks for saying that, Trip.
As opposed to.
Well,
Ellen DeGeneres comes into Salt Lake to take lessons from Shalise how to mistreat staff.
Wow! It's a tough crowd.
So Shalise's grandmother hates me because I hate Trump more than life itself.
I see.
And so I've not done the
battle lines are drawn.
Yeah, so Shalise is what you see on camera is what you get. Shalise is more wonderful off camera than she is on camera.
Well,
that was a nice comeback.
That was really nice.
I can feel the love in the room right now. I'm not going to break into any Lion King songs, but maybe later in the show.
Right. How about the Book of Mormon? Maybe one from there.
As an Irish Catholic from the Midwest, I'm a little short on my pedagogy of Mormon hymns, although...
what's funny is...
I'll leave it there.
I finally went to see Book of Mormon when I was in Salt Lake, and a lot of returned missionaries will wear their missionary outfits to watch the play. And I thought, what a great sense of humor. And clearly...
Sure.
Yeah, I mean, and that, while it might have gone overboard a little bit.
I never saw it. I wanted to. I know.
Why are you the one person who's never seen it? By the way, what is the other play that is kind of pokes fun? Saturday's Voyeur is ending. Its run after all those years, 30 years. So it's funny how we poke fun at the culture here in Salt Lake. Yeah. So you're a Catholic from the Midwest.
I am, yeah. Irish shot through. As my dad would always say, good Irisher, Terrence Michael. And he was very proud of his Irish heritage. Even though I don't have a classically Irish surname, I've got Maronis and McGraws and Devines in my family tree, so I definitely come by my Irishness honestly. There's no doubt about that.
And Midwestern Irish, now did you ever think of going to Notre Dame? That was, in our family, that was the goal. I had uncles who played at Notre Dame. And
really?
Yes, I did not go to Notre Dame, so I was a disappointment.
Well, this is a familiar territory for me. I have two older brothers who were great golf champions, and my brother Joe considered Notre Dame, and he was an incredible high school golf phenomenon. And he looked at Notre Dame, and I think they recruited him. They didn't have a really strong program. He ended up at the University of Illinois, but I always remember that was kind of part of the family lore, that Joe almost went to Notre Dame. But interestingly enough, and I wish, after your parents are gone, or after any, close person in your life is gone over time, I think you kind of find questions that you wish you could have asked him. And I wish I could have asked my dad, who was, he was as Irish as the day is long. And he called them the Notre Doters. And that was just something that he made up that was kind of a minimizing of Notre Dame. I don't know what his deal was with not really being a Notre Dame fan. I mean, I watched a lot of Notre Dame basketball as a kid, but no, I went to Drake, which is in Des Moines, so I was at a Midwestern university. But
the Drake Relays,
yeah,
the most famous track meet around.
Yeah. I saw Herschel Walker run when he was in college, I think at Auburn. He was one of the fastest men in the world, and it was like a rock concert in the stadium. When Herschel Walker showed up, he was a Georgia boy. Georgia boy. I can't believe I'm thinking of my Bulldog friends out there. If they listen to this, they're going to be like, "Did you really say that Herschel Walker went to Auburn?" Like, come on, Ter.
Hey, we have to end this.
Well, we're not going to just end this.
We want Terry to play us out, don't we?
We do want Terry to play us out. And I just want to say that it's been really awesome to watch you go from what you were doing, because I mean, you were talking to people in the community and you were doing all that stuff, but you still do that. You still are that person, and I think that
thank you, Shalice.
That it's been cool to just see you be you, because I remember conversations that we had that's one of the things you always wanted to make sure that you were just who you were, not just a character, and you've done that, and now you get to play Rockstar, which is Rockstar.
Thank you. First off, thanks, Shalice. Those are very kind things to say, and I feel like there's somewhat of a journey and a transition that I'm still in as far as being more of who I really am, being an authentic, and especially during these times, being
That's funny, because Shalice just said that to me. You are such an asshole. I want you to be less of one.
Right. Well, it's a sliding scale.
Don't be completely yourself.
Okay.
Right. Save a little for personal appearances, right? Trip. Love it. But, I think the two words that are probably overused but really are important to me are vulnerability and authenticity. And I, like so many of us during this unprecedented time in our world history and certainly our national history, a lot of people are having hard times. 30 million people are out of work. And so as I've been navigating this time when I don't have a day job, and I'm working on content and working to establish creative partnerships, there are hard days. And without being maudlin and without being self-pitying, I've tried to communicate that vulnerability via social media in a way that is honest and really honors the people out there that are hurting, not just in the ways that I am, but in very specific, very acute ways. I know that you have a family, you have kids, and just navigating summer vacation, and are we going back to school? Am I going to get rid of, no offense, kids, but am I going to get rid of you so that I can get some shit done in my life? Like, here we are on the podcast, truth telling. But, I don't have kids yet, but I really, for whatever reason, I resonate with those thoughts of challenges that people are still, as we sit here today, are having with navigating life and keeping your family safe and figuring out a new job, and and there are people that have really specialized skill sets that don't translate easy to other industries, and all these myriad, endless, tough stories. So I try to remind myself that gratitude is incredibly important, to be thankful even as I have hard times and I'm navigating my personal life and my professional life, to be grateful to sit here with you guys and have a laugh and enjoy and appreciate some time together and get to do what I love to do, what you guys love to do. It's a great blessing. So, I'm not the most religious person in the world, and I'm sure that there are probably a bunch of priests from the Salt Lake Catholic Diocese who are like, Terry who? But that's okay. That's okay.
They don't keep track.
That's what I hear. I'm counting on that. But, you never know. I might return to the flock. But I do have a great faith in myself, even through challenges, and I have a great faith in my community, and you guys are a perfect example of folks who are doing good work here in Salt Lake. Salt Lake's been really, really good to me, and I have faith that there are a lot of anguished thoughts and feelings about the condition of our country right now, and we still have tremendous challenges. But I have faith in the human spirit, and I'm fortunate to still be alive to put good feelings out. I think that's the biggest thing that I tried to do with the character of Terry, the talk show host, that I'm conscious to try and do because of that experience, to try and do in my real life, is to just send good vibes around. And sometimes good vibes is acknowledging that I carry a heaviness and a sadness because of this time and because of challenges in my life. But that doesn't mean that I'm not grateful to be here and grateful for the gifts that I've been given. And this is a joy to get to hang out with you guys. Tripp, I hadn't met you before. And I'm, as soon as we're sitting here, I'm thinking to myself, I'm grateful to know you. And I got to get to know you. I got to know more about you and hang out with you because...
Look at Shalice Lee is indicating that it's time for...
time to make some noise?
Yeah, time to make some noise.
Time to set out those good vibes.
All right. Well, I'm gonna give a crack at a tune that...
By the way, Shalice is not paid ASCAP, BMI, or CSAC, so...
Well, it's okay because this is an original.
Oh.
And I'm not registered with any of those rights organizations. I know people in all of those organizations. I always dealt with them during Sundance.
Pirates.
So I probably should join up.
No.
I'm going to give a shout out to my pal Christian Mills, who, when I leave the studio today, I'm going to go spend some time with him. We're getting ready to record this song, and I'm super excited about it. It's kind of a emblematic song of my life journey as a Midwesterner, being out west, and I spent a dozen years in California, and I miss Cali, I miss LA, I miss San Diego, but I still very much consider Salt Lake City and these beautiful mountains as a part of the West. So this is a song that kind of hits on a number of different levels for me, and it's called West Coast Rapture.
Another distant day, I gaze and dream of you, my love, from far away. How I miss the swells and sway, the ocean breeze communicate. Wherever did I leave? Why didn't I stay? In love with your own. I live my life and recapture, living, loving life in a West Coast rapture. West Coast rapture. Horizon, precipice. It's free here, I'll be here if you need me. I'll be here, I'll be here. Lustrous art and lowbrow dreck and brochet and discotheque. The image burns, the motor guns, midnight sun on a midday run. The lines of a sky ride in 1971. West Coast rapture. West Coast rapture. These days are not for the faint of heart. This city's not in love with your own. West Coast rapture. Dreaming, a green flash horizon. Stand on the edge of the precipice. It's free here, I'll be here if you need me. I'll be here, I'll be here.
Thanks, you guys.
Thank you. Thank you so much for being on our show. Thank you guys for watching, and we'll see you next week.